You've been lied to. Not by one person. Not by some grand conspiracy. But by a pattern. A system. A set of stories you've heard so many times, you stopped questioning them. Stories about success, control, achievement, the ladder you're supposed to climb, the things you're supposed to want, the person you're supposed to be. And now, you're tired.
If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Your feedback helps shape what we cover next, and you being here keeps the conversation going. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.
You've chased the goals, followed the rules, obeyed the script, and you still feel like something's missing. Alan Watts calls it what it is. You've been fooled into taking life too seriously. Not because life is meaningless, but because we were taught to look for meaning in all the wrong places. We were trained to see life as a test, a race, a constant proving ground. Be better, go faster, earn more, win, repeat. And eventually, maybe if you do everything right, you'll get to relax. You'll get to feel whole. You'll finally be allowed to just be. But that finish line never comes, because it was never real. That's the illusion Watts pulls back with such clarity, the false belief that we are separate from the universe, from each other, from peace. That somehow, wholeness is something we must earn through achievement. That we must strive endlessly to become what we already are. And that illusion, it runs deep. It's built into how we see the world. You are here. The world is out there. You are the doer, the controller. Life is the thing to be managed, fixed, dominated. But this creates a chronic tension, a loop of control, resistance, fear, and striving. Because deep down, something doesn't fit. The idea of separateness creates pressure. Pressure to succeed, to matter, to stay ahead, to never let go. That pressure isn't personal. It's structural. It's what happens when we mistake the mind's stories for truth. Watts isn't saying life is meaningless. He's saying it's not a competition. It's not a ladder. And it's not a punishment. It's a dance, an unfolding, a flow. And the moment we stop trying to force it, control it, fix it, we reconnect to something that was never broken in the first place, you. Because you were never disconnected from the universe. That was just a story. The truth, you are the universe, expressing itself as a human for a little while. You're not in the world, you are the world, experiencing itself through your awareness. When you realize that, the chase dissolves, the weight drops, the noise softens, and suddenly, peace is not some far-off goal, it's already here. That's the switch. The move from control to trust, from seriousness to play, from force to flow. Watts doesn't invite you to escape reality. He invites you to see it clearly. And what's revealed is not some heavy cosmic burden, but a divine lightness. A realization that life was never supposed to be this hard. We just forgot how to be with it, how to listen, how to stop racing. Because what if peace isn't at the top of the ladder? What if peace is stepping off the ladder completely? The pursuit of external success, titles, grades, possessions promises fulfillment but rarely delivers it. Not because those things are bad, but because the mind, when left unchecked, always wants more. It keeps pushing the bar just out of reach. As soon as you reach one goal, the next one appears. And this endless pursuit creates exhaustion, not peace. The trick isn't to win the race. The trick is to see that there is no race. There never was. And that realization changes everything. It brings you back to this moment, to the breath, to the sound, to the aliveness you've been too distracted to notice. It reveals that life is happening now, not later. That the very idea of getting somewhere is a distraction from being here. Watts points out how children get this intuitively. They're not chasing identity, worth, or control. They're being fully present. They laugh, cry, move, and rest without needing a reason. They don't define themselves through outcomes. And in that, they're closer to truth than most adults will ever let themselves be. But we don't lose that. We bury it. We trade it for roles, labels, stories about who we should be. We become the student, the worker, the achiever, the adult. And slowly, we drift from that natural state of presence. But it's still there beneath the noise. That original wholeness. That relaxed awareness that isn't trying to win anything. It's just witnessing, flowing, experiencing. You access it by letting go. Not giving up but surrendering control. Because the need to control is what creates stress. It's what tightens the body, the mind, the heart. And the antidote isn't more effort, it's relaxation. True relaxation isn't zoning out. It's not escapism. It's the radical act of meeting life as it is, without resistance. It's feeling emotions without needing to change them. It's hearing your thoughts without getting pulled into their stories. It's dropping the need to fix yourself and realizing you were never broken. The mind says, once I have everything figured out, I'll be at peace. But peace doesn't wait for understanding. Peace is what remains when understanding stops grasping. This is why observing your emotions matters. Not suppressing them, not judging them, just noticing. Anger, sadness, joy, they're all part of the same ocean. They rise, they fall. You don't need to push them away or hold on to them. They're waves. You are the water. And when you stop clinging to one wave or resisting another, the ocean calms. This is the heart of Watt's teaching, that the chaos of life isn't something to conquer. It's something to relax into, because underneath the surface noise, there's clarity, stillness, joy, not as a reward, but as the baseline of your being. The real trick is letting go of the stories that say you need to earn it. Those stories aren't just individual, they're cultural. We're told what success looks like, what love should feel like, what purpose means, and we measure ourselves against those definitions. But none of them are real. They're inherited scripts. And until we question them, we live according to someone else's dream. When you let those stories go, you return to something much more honest. Not the performance, the presence. And presence doesn't need to prove anything. It's not here to be impressive. It's here to be alive. When you finally drop the serious face, the clenched jaw, the mental checklist, what's left is laughter. Lightness. That's what Watts calls the cosmic joke. That all the suffering we create trying to become something was unnecessary. You already were. We were playing a game we didn't have to win. And once you see that, something shifts. The burden lifts. You breathe differently. Not because your life becomes perfect, but because you stop fighting it. You start flowing with it. That's what Watts is pointing to. A life where you stop clenching, stop chasing, and start trusting. Not in some outcome, but in the unfolding itself. And no, that doesn't mean you stop caring or trying or building. It just means you stop identifying with the chase. You stop thinking peace is on the other side of effort. You do what you do, but now it's an expression, not a proving ground. You don't meditate to escape stress. You meditate because you're already whole. You don't work to become worthy. You work because you're already full. You don't relax after life is handled. You relax as life is happening. Because now, you see it clearly. There's no goal beyond being. No achievement that will finally say, now you can rest. Life is now. Awareness is now. Joy is now. You've just been distracted by a system that rewards striving, by a mind that fears stillness, by a culture that forgot how to pause. But you can remember. And you don't have to wait. You can stop clenching. You can let go. You can smile, not because everything is figured out, but because it doesn't need to be. You've been running from something that was never chasing you. And the moment you stop, you'll see. It was always right here. If this resonates, take a breath, let it land. Then share this with someone who's still carrying that weight. Drop a comment if you've been there or if you're finally starting to let go. And subscribe for more grounded insights into the truth beneath the noise. Because the moment you relax, you'll realize you've been free all along. And maybe that's the most disarming part of all, realizing you were never trapped. There was no cage, just stories, just thoughts, just beliefs handed down like heirlooms, worn so long they felt like skin. Alan Watts doesn't offer a new system. He doesn't hand you a better path to success. What he does is simpler and way more unsettling. He holds up a mirror and says, this is you without the mask. You don't need to add anything. You just need to stop pretending. And the pretending runs deep. Pretending to be in control. Pretending to know what's coming. Pretending that if you just keep going just a little harder, just a little longer, then the tension will finally dissolve and you'll arrive. But Watts is saying, there is no arrival. Because you never left. This moment, right now, it's not the waiting room. This is it. This is the show. Not the future, not the plan, not the payoff. Just this breath, this sensation, this ripple of life moving through you. And that truth, it's not heavy, it's freeing. Because the need to be serious all the time, the pressure to control, to define, to strive, it's exhausting. And what's worse, it's all based on an illusion. The illusion that life is a problem to be solved. That existence is a task. That you are a separate self, dropped into a hostile world, trying to make meaning before the clock runs out. But Watts reminds us, that idea of separateness, that's the root of the tension. The ego, this idea of me as something separate from everything else, is what generates anxiety. It creates a false boundary between you and the world, between self and other, between here and there. And it turns the natural flow of life into something to be managed instead of lived. And the result? Stress, disconnection, a never-ending cycle of almosts, almost happy, almost fulfilled, almost at peace, always reaching, never arriving. But here's the turn, you're not separate from life. You are life. The wave isn't separate from the ocean. It is the ocean in motion. And in the same way, You're not this isolated ego clinging to a body in a cold universe. You're the universe, expressing itself as a temporary form. A flash of awareness. A brief, beautiful pattern in the grand unfolding. The moment you see that, even for a second, everything changes. Because then the striving loses its grip. The voice in your head that says, "I need to be more," starts to sound, well, kind of ridiculous. You don't need to be more. You are. And that's not about laziness. It's not about giving up on growth or purpose. It's about understanding that growth isn't a climb. It's a bloom. It's not a ladder, it's a spiral. Life moves in cycles, not straight lines. There's no final destination. Just unfolding, expanding, contracting, breathing in, breathing out. So when you relax, truly relax, it's not because everything is perfect. It's because you've stopped believing that it needs to be. You stop resisting what is. You stop editing reality. You let it come and go, like waves, without trying to fight the tide. And that's where peace lives. Not in some perfect scenario. Not in your bank account, your body image, your resume. Peace is what remains when you drop the story that something is missing. Because nothing is missing. You're just not looking. You've been trained to look outward. To find validation in achievements. To look for safety and control. To chase love through approval. But none of that is solid. None of it lasts. And the mind left to itself never stops chasing. It lives in past and future. Regret and anticipation. It feeds on what if and when I. And it pulls you out of the only place anything real ever happens, right now. So how do you get back? You stop trying to get back. You pause. You breathe. You stop taking your thoughts so seriously. You notice that you are aware of your thoughts, which means you are not them. You're the space they move through. And that space, it's untouched, unbothered, still. Watts would say, trying to define yourself is like trying to bite your own teeth. You can't do it. The you that's searching is already the thing you're looking for. But we forget. We get hypnotized by identities, by narratives, by social roles and labels. And we start living as if we are what we do, what we own, how we're seen. It's no wonder we're so anxious. We're clinging to illusions and calling it security. But real security doesn't come from control. It comes from trust, not naive trust, not blind faith, but a deep, grounded understanding that life has been moving long before you showed up and it'll keep moving long after. Your job isn't to steer the river, it's to flow with it, to witness, to participate, to dance. And yeah, sometimes that dance looks like grief. Sometimes it's joy. Sometimes it's chaos. But in every moment, the invitation is the same. Be here. Not because it's better to be present. Not because it makes you more spiritual. But because it's the only thing that's real. The past is a memory. The future is a projection. But presence, that's the pulse of life itself. And the more time you spend here, the more obvious it becomes. You don't need to become anything. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to chase peace. Peace is what's left when you stop running. So maybe you've been chasing shadows. Maybe you've been caught in someone else's story about who you're supposed to be. Maybe the voice in your head has been too loud for too long. But none of that means you're lost. It just means you're waking up. Because right now, in this very moment, you can stop. You can exhale. You can drop the tension in your chest, the furrow in your brow, the grip in your gut. And when you do, something opens. Something real. Something soft and clear and ancient. The part of you that's always been watching, always been whole. That's the presence Watts was pointing to. That's what's been waiting beneath the noise. Not a solution. Not an answer. Not a system. Just this. And maybe now you finally see it. This whole time, you were never behind. There was no scoreboard. No cosmic checklist. No secret authority waiting to evaluate your progress and decide whether you're worthy of peace. That was the illusion. That's the story so many of us were born into, that life is a problem, and you are the one who has to solve it. Alan Watts didn't offer escape from that story, he offered freedom from believing it. He didn't try to sell you a better version of the lie. He tore the whole thing down and asked, who told you life was a struggle? Who told you that joy was earned? Who told you that you had to be serious, composed, controlled, or productive to matter? That's the joke, the cosmic joke. Not that life is meaningless, but that we've layered so much meaning on top of it. We've buried the joy of simply being alive under piles of seriousness. We've turned existence into a task, a performance, a burden. And then we wonder why we're so tired. Watts called this obsession with control and seriousness a form of hypnosis, socially reinforced self-deception. You are trained to treat yourself like a project, to measure your worth through external outcomes, to judge your inner world as either productive or useless. But all of that mental noise keeps you from recognizing what's been true from the beginning. You don't need to be anything other than what you already are. You're not here to prove. You're here to experience, to feel the wind, hear the silence, laugh at the absurdity, cry when it hurts, and then let it go. Because life is movement, flow, unfolding, and it doesn't stop being sacred just because it's messy. You were taught that pausing is dangerous, that surrender means weakness. But Watts turns that upside down. He says true strength is found in surrender, not passive giving up, but active trust. Trust that life doesn't need your constant management, that you don't have to clench your way through every moment, that you can let go and still be held. And the more you trust, the more you relax. The more you relax, the more you see. And what you see is that you were never disconnected. You just forgot. You forgot that emotions aren't threats. You forgot that thoughts aren't truth. You forgot that presence isn't a reward, it's the starting point. Because peace, presence, fulfillment, none of those are destinations. They don't live at the end of a timeline. They don't show up once you've mastered everything or healed all your wounds. They live now, beneath the thoughts, behind the striving, within the breath. And when you stop demanding that life be different, when you stop trying to improve your way into peace, it's just there. Quiet, unafraid, unmoved, already complete. It's not always pretty. Sometimes it looks like grief, like stillness, like fatigue, but there's no part of you that's unworthy of peace. No emotion that disqualifies you. Watts calls for a kind of inner honesty, a willingness to look at what you've been running from, not to conquer it, but to allow it. Because what you resist doesn't disappear. It grows. It twists. It defines you. But when you face it, when you allow sadness to be sadness, anger to be anger, joy to be joy, it transforms. It flows. And eventually, it passes. Like everything else in life. That's the rhythm we forget. We try to hold on, to pin things down, to make good feelings stay and bad feelings go. But all of that control only creates tension. And tension keeps us from experiencing the one thing we're all looking for underneath it all. Freedom. Freedom isn't in fixing yourself. It's in letting go of the belief that you're broken. It's in seeing that you've always been whole. You just got distracted. By the noise. By the pressure. By the race you never agreed to run. But you don't have to keep running. You can stop. You can soften. You can breathe. And if that hits home, share this with someone who's still trying too hard to get it right. Drop a comment if this echoes something you felt but never said. And subscribe if you want more clarity like this in your life, because every now and then, you just need someone to remind you that you can relax now. You've been free this whole time. You just forgot.